for this year and their work done.
Yeah.
Hello, it is 6 p.m. on April 7th, 2026, and I'd like to welcome you to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Sugar Grove. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we can have roll call, please, Tracy.
President Stilwell,
Here.
Trustee Lundy,
Here.
Trustee Bonnie,
Here.
Trustee Michaels,
Here.
Trustee Special,
Here.
Trustee London,
Here.
Trustee Roscoff.
Here.
All right, up next, we have a public hearing for the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget public hearing.
Good evening. The fiscal year 2027 budget has a total revenue of $20,742,722 and $24,219,357 in expenses. This is a net deficit of $3,476,635, which is planned using reserves. This represents a $747,282 or 3.74 increase in revenues and a $135,029 or a 0.55 decrease in expenses compared to fiscal year 2026. I would recommend that the board open to public comment if there's any public comment or anything to do with the budget tonight. The budget will also be available for public inspection at Village Hall or at the Administration and Finance offices and on the website under the transparency section.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry? Oh.
We have no one signed up for public comment. Was there anyone who wanted to comment at this time? Up next, we have a proclamation.
Oh, yeah, the close public.
All right, hearing no public comments, we will close the public hearing at this time. Up next, we have two proclamations, one for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and a proclamation for National Volunteer Week. Public safety telecommunicators operate diligently around the clock, frequently in high-pressure situations to guarantee the safety and welfare of residents. I, President Sue Stowell, along with the Village Board, do hereby proclaim the week of April 12th to 18th, 2026 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the Village of Sugar Grove. National Volunteer Week, our volunteers generously offer their time, energy, and expertise to support various causes, creating a lasting impact on the well-being of others and strengthening our community. Therefore, I, Sue Stillwell, President of the Village of Sugar Grove, Illinois, along with the Village Board, hereby proclaim the week of April 19th to 25th as National Volunteer Week in the Village of Sugar Grove.
Mine to of course plug the corn boil and all the wonderful volunteers, and that they always need more, and that please and thank you to everyone who does volunteer, and if you do wish to volunteer to be part of the corn boil, village staff can happily get you in contact with that group.
Yeah,
Yep.
we have no presentations this evening, no appointments. Up next is airport report.
No report tonight.
All right. Public comments on scheduled action items. There was nobody signed up. Does anyone wish to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, we will close public comment on scheduled action items. Up next, we have the consent agenda. We have approval of the vouchers, a resolution authorizing approval of the electric supply renewal contract for a period of up to 48 months, a resolution approving the fees, number of licenses per liquor class, overlay permits and food service waivers for fiscal year 2026-2027, approval of the liquor license overlay permits, food service waivers, and BYOB. Also approval of the 2026-2027 liquor licenses. On general business tonight, we have a resolution authorizing the village's share of construction and construction engineering costs for Wheeler Road resurfacing. A resolution authorizing the village's share of construction and construction engineering costs for Dugan Road resurfacing. A resolution authorizing the purchase of a replacement wheel loader hitch from Altifer Cat. A resolution authorizing the village's share of construction and construction engineering costs for, sorry about that. Sorry, one pause. If we could have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda this evening.
I'll make a motion.
We have a first from trustee Roscoff. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second from trustee Michaels. If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
The ayes have it and the consent agenda is approved. Up next for general business, is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11A, a resolution authorizing the village's share of construction and engineering costs for Wheeler Road resurfacing?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Special, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second from trustee Michaels. Brad Merkel will be presenting this item.
Good evening. This is for the resurfacing of Wheeler Road through the SDP program. In order to receive the federal funds for this project, we have to approve a resolution authorizing the village's share of the funds, which is 25% of the project. So, it's just something we have to do.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Was this on the, our list of projects to do and
It's been in our program, yeah.
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 First year, so. It's good to get the grant.
Thank you. If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Bunny.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
All right, up next, is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 11B, a resolution authorizing the village's share of construction and engineering costs for Dugan Road resurfacing STP project?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Special, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second from trustee Michaels. Brad Merkel will also present this item.
Same thing, different road.
Thank
This
you.
is our entire limits of Dugan, basically from just north of Wheeler to like about Air Park, staying on the IDOT right away, and then we're gonna go south of the roundabout to the corporate limits. So we're not redoing the roundabout.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and item 11B is approved. Up next, we have a resolution, is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on a resolution authorizing the purchase of a replacement wheel loader hitch from Altifer?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Special, is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second from trustee Roscoff. Brad will also present this item.
This is just to replace the hitch coupler on the wheeler that we used on load to salt trucks. The machine is approximately 20 years old, so it's just poor for use. So, just a problem with wear and tear. So, it was in the budget, obviously, it's in the budget, so.
Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the resolution authorizing the purchase of a replacement wheel loader is approved. Hitch is approved. Up next, we have public comment. Would anyone like to make a public comment? Hearing none, we will close public comment at this time. Our discussion items for this evening, first we have Kingman School District, final PUD for the transportation building, and Danny Marion will present this item.
The village has received a petition from the school district for a final PUD for a transportation building to be built immediately south of the Harder Middle School. The school is proposing to construct an 11,000 square foot building that will house the transportation offices and maintenance space. The site will also include staff parking, bus parking, and a fueling island with fuel tanks. The development will be surrounded by a 6-foot fence. It will take up about 9 acres of the 100-acre parcel that it will sit on. The applicants are requesting the following deviations. For zoning deviations, the petitioner is requesting a deviation to allow a 6-foot tall fence in the front yard for security purposes. The petitioner is requesting a deviation to allow for decorative metal fencing in the front yard and 6-foot tall black coated chain link fencing in the side and rear yards. The petitioner is requesting a deviation to not require foundation landscaping. The petitioner is requesting a deviation to not require a bike rack. The petitioner is requesting a deviation to allow the south driveway entrance to exceed 35 feet in width at the front lot line. In addition to the zoning deviations, the following is an additional request deviation from the engineering manual. The village uses a minimum pavement structural number of 3.0 for automobile traffic and 3.65 for truck and bus traffic. The village also requires a minimum 4-inch of aggregate base course and a minimum of 2-inch thickness for the surface course to be included in the structural calculations. The petitioner is requesting a deviation to allow a pavement structural number of 2.5 instead of 3.0 and 2.16 instead of 3.65. The village engineer and public works director believe the best option for the minimum pavement surface is to follow the village standards. The Plan Commission discussed the petition on March 18th. Their discussion included landscaping and suggested that more trees be added to the front area of the property. They expressed concerns over traffic with buses coming and going. Their discussion on the deviation for a bike rack had several commissioners thinking that they should require to have one, but ultimately decided they would be okay with the bike rack deviation as long as the school district was open to adding one later if it was determined it was needed. And they were split 3-3 on the deviation for the fence. The Plan Commission ultimately made a recommendation that the village board approve the proposed PUD and adopt the findings of fact subject to the following conditions. The village engineers must approve the engineering plans prior to the case being scheduled for village board review. Any landscaping items that are damaged or dead must be replaced within the same season, and any damage to fencing must be repaired or replaced in a workmanlike manner within a reasonable time. We do have the applicants here and they do have a presentation for you.
My name is Kirsten Emke and I'm with Lowell Architects and Engineers. So we have a short presentation just to go over the variances that are being requested, to provide additional information, ask any questions that you might have. We do have an opening slide that Jackie Bogan with the district is here to kind of give an overall view of what the plan is out at Canelan School District. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
Sure, thank you. My name is Jackie Bogan. Again, Dr. Rolwing wished he could have been here this evening, but he did have a prior family commitment. As you can see, this is the site plan for Canelan High School. The majority of the work that's happening through the $140 million referendum is actually happening up at the high school campus. One of the major components that we're very excited about doing is moving our transportation hub down to Sugar Grove, just south of the current Harder Middle School campus. This not only has implications for transportation, we do believe that there's going to be some positive impacts, especially with routing of students. While our district is absolutely massive and covers approximately 140 square miles, the majority of our students live along the Route 47 corridor, both east and west of that. So positioning the transportation hub at the Harder Middle School campus, we do anticipate seeing those benefits. The other thing that it does though, is it really frees up some space on the high school campus, and so we're able to do quite a bit of work to reorient not only some of our athletic fields, but also just getting around on the campus. If you've been there, it's not always the easiest to find different things. So all of these projects, even though the majority of things are happening up at the high school campus, they are all very interconnected. The Sugar Grove site, as it was stated earlier, it is going to be on approximately 9 acres out of the 100 acres that the district owns. That site, with the remaining acreage, there still is ample room for an additional school building for future use. When the district purchased that land, it was with the intent that if one day there was a need, that could be a potential site, not only for the transportation center was planned for there, but also for an additional school building. So tonight, our architect team as well as our engineering team are here to discuss the variances. But if there's any general questions I could answer about the projects related to referendum, I'm happy to do so.
I have one general question. Is that bus site the same site that was on the original master plan for that site for the school?
I have not seen the original site for that transfer station, but I do know that it's comparable in terms of size. I do think that the number of buses that we've had since then has grown. And we did engineer and sort of plan the site for future growth in mind as well, so. All right, thank you.
So this is just the list of the variances that we have additional information on that Danielle went through as well. So we'll go through these one by one. Variance 1, I think actually is not technically a variance, although it's listed on the PUD. Originally, it was a comment from the review team about screening and if we could raise the parapet. We were showing that we are actually screening the one RTU that is on top of the flat roof with the same metal panels that will be complementary to the rest of the building. And then just did a quick axon to show that from below looking up, you shouldn't be able to see, or you shouldn't be able to see much of that unit anyways, because the parapet does have some depth to it. Variance 2 and 3 directly relates to the fencing requests. So we do have the variance of the 6-foot tall fence. That's really for security purposes around the facility. And then the decorative chain link fence, the red area shown on the plan is where we're requesting to change the black coated chain link to the decorative fence, which would be visible to the main traffic and the front lot line. And then switching back to the black coated chain link fencing would be the green area around the rest of the property. And the main reason for this is cost. The district is really looking to spend as much of the dollars as they can on student functions, if not necessary for something of this sort. We did actually get an updated cost from the fencing contractor. It would be additional $160,000 to change the chain link fencing to the decorative fencing at that remaining green line. Any questions on that in particular? That covers 2 of them.
I've got a question on the PUD. So do we require the decorative, or is the chain link allowed in the addition?
The decorative is yes, a village requirement when you're using it.
So you're asking to drop the decorative in the green section and go with the chain?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Keep going, but let me know if we need to go back at all. For the bike rack location, we do have a location identified on the site plan. And the district's always said that if it's something that they feel that is needed with the staff that is out at this building at some point, we have a plan in place of where that can go. For the variances 5 through 7, this dives into the engineering plans specifically, so I'm going to have Brian from GHA come up and talk to those.
Thanks, Krista. Hello everyone, my name is Brian Wozlowski from Gaywald Hamilton Associates, one of the civil engineers for the project. Just to walk a little bit through, because it kind of matters as we get into some of the elements of the site, but I'm going to go through real quick the overall circulation plan for the property. So the section in the middle is where that 11,000 square foot building is going, and the operation of the site is intended to kind of bisect everything in two different sides. Everything north of the building, that would be towards Harder, is going to be where like employees would be driving to the facility to park their personal vehicles. So that parking lot is completely separate from the bus drive, which is why there's two accesses that are currently proposed on the west side of the site on Esker. So that northern section is more designed for a typical vehicle that all of you would drive to come to this meeting tonight. That the bus drivers would be parking at, and then any meetings that the district has with transportation personnel that end up happening at this facility, that's the parking lot that would be used. So we sized that lot in accordance with the amount of staff and employees that would be coming here, so that way all the parking could be handled on the north side of the building. The south side of the building and east of the building is where the main bus parking is occurring. So the driveway access that you're seeing kind of on plan southwest here is one of the deviations we're requesting. There's 3 lanes that we're trying to have in terms of staging for buses as you go out to Esker. We have a left turn, a right turn, and then 1 inbound lane proposed, which is requiring that pavement width to be a little wider than what the engineering standards are currently allowing in the zoning code as well. So we are asking for a deviation for that. And the main reason for that is just because of when the morning, really early in the morning, when a lot of these bus routes begin, getting the buses out onto the road to pick up kids in a timely fashion, to have those 2 access points for people going left and right on Esker as they're navigating through the district. It will help their flow in operations as they operate the site. So that's the main reason on why that additional width is there. The other pavement along the building is in relation to the bays. So there's overhead doors that buses will be able to drive fully through. So there won't be any need to back in and out of the bays. They'll have doors on both sides, similar to a fire apparatus that you drive a bus in and then you can drive a bus right out. And then we have a circular fashion on the east side of the site with concrete pavement for the stalls. I'm sure your public works team has come across this as well. When you have heavy vehicles that are parked on asphalt, they end up sinking into the asphalt. So we're investing quite a bit in the pavement where the buses are actually parking, with an 8-inch thick concrete pavement over there in order to make sure that where the buses are staying long term, that we don't have any failures in the pavement due to the depressions that occur over time with heavy vehicle parking there. Any questions on the overall site?
For the 8 inches of pavement, so I think the village requires 12 and you're asking for 8, right?
So we'll get into the pavement discussion. I have a whole slide in the section about
Okay,
that.
yeah, I have a question.
Yeah. So the first variance I wanted to touch on was the landscape around the foundation. So this exhibit, we've got 3 different colors. Green is where we're meeting the zoning requirements of having landscaping around the foundation. The gray line is areas that there's going to be pavement all the way up to the building. So that's areas that we have doorways, overhead doors. So there'll be concrete or asphalt that goes up to the building. And then there's a couple small areas that are yellow. One of them is in between 2 paved areas on the west side of the building. And then the larger areas along the south facade of the building. And the reason we're asking for a variance for there is we're trying to leverage some of the decorative elements where people are going to be. So as I mentioned before, the employee parking is going to be on the north side of this building. So that's where the majority of the foot traffic is going to be going in and out of the building. And then on the south end, everyone that's going to be back there is going to be driving around in buses. So the district, we don't want to have to maintain landscape plantings along the building in that grassed area. There will be some grass that's over there, but there won't be foundation screening. So that is the landscaping variance that we're asking for in terms of the foundation requirements within the zoning code.
Were you gonna take the planning commission's recommendation and move the landscaping requirement by planting additional trees?
We have a lot of trees around the parking lot, and we are open to moving them at their request, yes. Yeah, and we do have, I think in total, 3, 6, 9, 12. We have somewhere around 13 or 14 trees that we're currently planting around the parking lot. So we could move some of those along the west edge of the parking lot closer to Esker at the direction of, I don't know if that would be coming from village staff through the planning commission, or if the village board would like to provide comments for us on where we want to put those, but yeah, we are open to moving the trees that we're shown to meet the requests of the village.
Can I ask Dan something? So was the request from the planning commission about the trees, was it removing trees or was it adding additional trees?
It was adding additional trees.
So it was adding additional trees in lieu of the foundation planting that they would not.
Yeah, they didn't really even discuss it in lieu of the foundation planting. They
But,
just threw it out
okay,
there
it's
that they
just-
would like to see more trees at the entrance.
Okay, all
But
right.
it wasn't a condition that they added or anything like that.
No,
but
but
they
it's,
did
okay, I just.
discuss it.
Okay, so as an addition to keeping the ones in the islands they had there, but adding additional.
Correct.
Thank you.
The other variance is for the driveway width. I touched on that a little bit before. But the total width of pavement that we are proposing here is a 14-foot lane that's inbound, and then 2 13-foot lanes that are outbound, which exceeds that maximum width. And the circulation is the main reason on why we're asking for that in terms of how wide that curb cut is. And then obviously the radiuses get a little bigger than a typical commercial driveway because we're dealing with bus traffic here, that we want to make sure that they're able to traverse on Esker Drive without impacting vehicles that might be on Esker when the buses are leaving the facility. Any questions on that? So going into the pavement, I'll touch real quick. We don't have a section here for the concrete pavement. The concrete pavement that's underneath where the buses are parking, that meets the structural number that the village engineering standards has of the 3.65. So the concrete that we have underneath the buses where they're parking long-term does meet the ordinance, or the engineering standards. One quick clarification I want to make, it's in your guys' packet, right in one note but not in another. The actual pavement structural number for the bus parking is 3.16, not 2.16. And that's for the area that's around the bus area. But one item that we wanted to touch on in this was the village code and the engineering standards in the village code. It's apparent they're designed for roadways, and that is generally the basis that IDOT uses when you're establishing structural numbers. And the IDOT BDE manual that goes through these calculations, they generally reference something called ADT, or average daily traffic. Your engineering standards have grabbed a lot of that information, and for roadway designs, for the ADTs that are anticipated for roads that you would install in a commercial development or a residential development that involve collector streets that sees significant amounts of traffic rather than about 60 buses, in total, 240 in a day. The roadway standards that are included in the engineering standards make a lot of sense, and we're not arguing that those standards are too excessive to meet in terms of a roadway. The item that we want to discuss with the board from a pavement perspective is applying those standards to a private site that the district is going to be maintaining. We are trying to be economical with the pavement design that we have, and what we are currently proposing right now is similar, if not even higher than other similar developments that we've done in the Chicagoland area. And we're trying to make a request that we can follow these, even though they are lower than the structural numbers that are listed within the village code, under the guise that these are for a parking lot and for a bus circulation facility. Right now, the way that these are listed in the engineering standards is parking lots do not have a listed minimum structural number within the engineering standards, but the engineering team has what they're applying towards our site is primary automobile traffic has a structural number of 3.0. So based on how that's listed in there, the engineering team is requesting that we meet that 3.0 for the parking lot for the employees on the north. And what that means for this development is adding roughly about 4 inches of additional stone to that pavement section. So currently we have 4 inches of asphalt and 8 inches of stone. We would be required to add 12 inches of stone in order to meet that 3.0 pavement structural number. On the bus parking side, the way that it's listed in the code is significant truck traffic. There's not any relation to what significant means in terms of, is it hundreds of vehicles, is it 50 vehicles, is it 1,000 vehicles? But that is the language that's being interpreted to apply for the bus circulation area that's happening in the rest of the site. And similar to the pavement for the parking lot, it would be an additional 4 inches of stone. So we have 6 inches of asphalt in those areas, so it's a thicker section because we anticipate the bus traffic. 8 inches of stone, and then we would have to increase that 8 inches of stone to 12 inches of stone to meet that requirement. Cost-wise, we're looking at about $120,000 of added cost to meet this requirement. And we, as the engineering team, doesn't feel that it's necessary in order to meet the payment demands that the district has for this property, which is why we're putting forward it to you to review that. The village staff was uncomfortable providing a approval at the staff level against this engineering standard. Couple quick examples of projects that we've done in the last 5 years within this area. The Chicagoland area, we have a project that we did that's for the Lake County 911 call center. So this is a countywide building that their police uses, that they have semis that go to for delivering things, as well as county personnel. So it's, although it's not a bus facility, it's an institutional facility that's a government facility. And the pavement sections that we have for that one, both of these do not meet the current village structural number requirements. We have a couple projects that we've done recently in Buffalo Grove that we have both fire trucks and employee vehicles that are going that also do not meet. These sections are actually even slightly smaller than the sections that we're proposing as part of this project. We have some projects and some bus projects that we've done for the school district in Lake County that involved both bus and parking lots that have also structural numbers that are slightly below the structural number that we're proposing for this project. And then we just completed a project this last summer that involved an employee parking and a bus drive lane around a school that also had pavement sections that are very similar to what we're proposing. The only difference here was that we had 2 inches of additional stone on that one. And that was because we were reusing stone that was out on site. We weren't hauling new in, so we didn't feel that we wanted to take stone away since it was there already. But the bus area was one that we reconstructed, and that's the exact same pavement section that we're proposing as part of this project right now.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you said 8 inches of gravel for the car parking lot,
Mhm.
How many inches for the buses?
For eight for the buses.
8 for both?
Yes, correct.
If the board decided that the extra 4 inches is necessary for the buses, but not for the employee parking lot, how much would that be?
The bus area is the larger of the two.
Could you back up the slides to the map if you don't mind, please?
Yeah. So approximately, just to give you an idea on the scale, we have roughly a little over 14,000 square yards of pavement. About 11,000 of those square yards is for the bus asphalt area. And then a little over 3,000 square yards is for the employee parking area. So it would be probably in the range of 25% is all we would be saving. So it would save about 30,000 out of that 120. It'd still be about a $90,000 add.
Approximately how many buses is this anticipated to accommodate?
Right now, the anticipation is there's 60 buses that would be going in and out of here during the weekday. And there's a total of 2 round-robin trips that they take. So leaving in the morning, coming back after their routes, and then leaving again in the afternoon, and then coming back. So it's a total of about 240 trips per day. That obviously would go up slightly depending on field trips or other items like that. That would be more special circumstances, but that would be the typical operation.
You have a couple, at the fire, the one at the fire station, you had 10 inches of gravel. Is that because you're using asphalt versus concrete? Is that why you were saying 8 inches for this one?
Yeah, so for that one, we had a thinner asphalt section. So there was 4.5 inches of asphalt there. And the main reason that some of these, when you kind of add a lot of these sections up, they usually add between about 12 to 14 inches in depth. And the reason for that is we like to keep that bottom stone layer. When you install curb and gutter, typically curb and gutter at the edge of your pavement is about 9 inches thick, and you usually have about a 4-inch stone base underneath that curb and gutter. Generally, we like to have our pavement section be very similar to the bottom of that stone underneath the curb. So that way when the contractor is constructing the parking lot, curb and gutter is usually what goes in first. If we end up having to go deeper for the stone adjacent to the curb and gutter, you can start undermining the curb during construction. So it's a lot easier to have a straight plane that you provide across the entire site. It's an economy as well from construction of just keeping that so you're not changing elevations all over the place as you're masquerading your site.
And how many, so if you put 12 inches instead of the 8 inches, how much longer would the pavement be expected to last?
We don't feel that it's going to add longevity to the pavement.
Is there any discussion about putting in a concrete section from the right-of-way back to maybe the stop bars that are on site? That's where you're gonna get a lot of the heavy traffic.
We have not talked about that internally with the team. If we could discuss that, if that's something that we would, if we do that, if we would get some leniency on the pavement section, I think that this becomes a cost-benefit analysis as we're reviewing, and concrete pavement is significantly more expensive than asphalt, which is why we're not putting just concrete back everywhere. We're putting concrete in the areas that we know buses are going to be parking permanently, and then asphalt in the drive lanes.
To be selfish, I'm more worried about the right-of-way, the stuff that's gonna be on the village. I think the school district unfortunately has had some history of where they haven't taken care of their pavement out at the main campus. So, but you know, that's more an internal function. So I'd like to see the village right-of-way taken care of primarily, and then what you guys do is, you know, would be on you to maintain over the year.
I think from a cost perspective, if that was the direction from the trustees, I think we'd be amenable to that.
Would, can we maybe go down, would you be agreeable if they upgraded near the right of way and then requiring less repairs?
I'm fine with the gravel layout there now. I think that's adequate.
Okay.
And I like Sean's point. I mean, I think if we do that initial, I'd be okay with the rest.
Matt, what about you?
Can we ask our public works their review?
Of course.
And Tony, if you have anything as an expert in this as well?
I think the biggest problem I have is that if you're gonna have 240 school buses driving on that pavement, I think it's important that we build it to our standard. I think that I would be flexible with the employee parking lot, maybe, but I think the bus, I think you don't wanna cut any corners on that. That's my opinion, but since we first saw it.
And Heidi, my opinion is to stick to the village standards. Obviously, they're put together for a reason, it has to do with wear and tear, longevity of the pavement, so I get it. I give them credit for trying to do the cost base, but I think in the long run, it's worth following the pavement standards based on what we have in our code.
I also reached out to another expert in this area and had to get the same information as you guys did.
Both of us.
No, reached out to another expert that has a lot of experience,
Right.
and they asked their opinion, and they thought we should follow the village standards.
Okay.
And then, just to clarify, and so both of you are want the 4-inch upgrade for the parking lot, the employee parking lot, and the buses?
Correct.
Okay. And Nora, what are your thoughts?
I usually go to the more conservative form of longevity of the equipment and materials. I can see why they would want to, use something lesser. And they obviously have the exhibits where they've used it before, but that doesn't tell us what the long-term effect is going to be. So I would probably be leaning more towards being more conservative and following our code.
That's me. Yeah, I'm in agreement with following the code. I think in the long term, they're spending money, they need to do it what we believe is the right way. I would like to see it done the right way.
So I think you have more than want to require it. What about the decorative fence versus the chain link fence?
So one of the issues I heard that was brought up about the chain link fence, which would be a variance from what the village has.
I would like to clarify a little bit on that deviation request.
Can you use the mic, please?
Okay.
So it is permitted on the sides and the rear, so they're trying to bring it forward in front of the building. And that's where the deviation request needs to come in. So they would be allowed to have chain link starting at the very front of the building and going back.
Okay.
So it's more if you want to allow, and I think the planning commission went a little bit off topic on that as well and was talking more about the entire being required to have decorative, but it is written in our code that they can't have chain link behind, starting at the front of the building and going back.
Okay, and what they're asking for is, and can you clarify?
Yeah, can you point it on the map, Danny, just to,
Yeah.
that would be
Exactly
helpful.
what is allowed and what is the
So,
variance they're asking for?
Over here is basically, they're wanting chain link to start here. And technically, the chain link shouldn't start till here.
I'm sorry, I need to see this now, I don't know the diagram.
Yeah, so the chain link technically shouldn't start until this point of the building.
Got it, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And just,
The way the code's written,
so just for that little bit, you're saying it's 100 and...
No, because the planning commission wanted them to do chain or decorative the entire way around. Sorry.
Oh, I see, and that's, okay, got it.
The planning commission was requesting decorative the entire way around for upkeep purposes. They felt like it would last longer.
Okay, so they wanted it for the whole,
The entire perimeter.
okay.
And that was the split vote. Half of them wanted that, half of them did not.
But you're saying that requiring additional decorative fence that is not in our current code?
Correct.
That's what you were,
Yes.
okay.
But, okay, so how much is the difference for just, well, if they followed the current code and they had the decorative fence and just the areas that would require it, then it shouldn't be that $160,000.
Right, I'm sorry, I don't have a lineal foot number for just that section, but
But
obviously
It's
the
significantly
additional
less.
cost was for anything that's not that red line there. So anything that's wrapping around, the rest of it was the 160, so take down to just that little piece, basically from the fuel island forward, it would be less, yes.
Okay, so it'd be significantly less because that 160 was covering everything.
160 was just the added.
That was just the
Yes,
added,
added.
was just the added, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Trustees, are you just wanting to require village code then?
Yes, I would like to follow code.
So, do you need a consensus on anything else for the variance?
Landscaping.
Yeah, the landscape.
Yeah, if you guys want to go through
We might as well go through.
I can, so I know how to write the ordinance, bringing it back, that would be. So the 6 foot tall fence, you guys are all in consensus with,
Yes.
and the chain link fence per code.
Yeah.
So they will have to extend it a little bit. Foundation landscaping. There really is no way for them to do the
Yeah.
foundation
Right, right,
landscaping
right.
for.
I don't see that there's need to do that, but they planned some pretty adequate.
Yeah, it's fine.
Bike rack.
On the landscaping, how many extra trees did the planning commission want?
They did not indicate a number, they just thought they would like to see some additional trees at the front, in the grass area of the front.
Is that a normal quantity for?
Right now, the quantity that they have meets village code.
I think we should require more than that.
Right.
So we're okay with not requiring the foundation landscaping. So then, since they wanted more trees, but we don't, then there's nothing else for us.
And they didn't make that a condition of their recommendation either, it was
Oh,
just
okay.
added to their discussion.
All right.
Dan, you said they can't landscape, why can't
So-
they?
The foundation plantings, I shouldn't say that they cannot, but with the way the building is with all of the garage doors, foundation plantings go right up against the building all the way around. So they have a lot of garage doors where they, if, without removing the garage doors or changing their plans, they really can't put the foundation landscaping.
The pavement's gotta go right.
Yeah.
It really doesn't sound like for the type of use this building has, to have foundation landscaping all the way around. They've only planned on it at the front of the building, which would be normal for that type of an occupancy.
Can we go back to the slide that shows where they plan the landscaping?
Yeah. Yeah. Our code requires it in the front of the building, they're just kind of doing off to the side, so it's kind of moving it, and but they are doing some.
Yeah, I'm okay with obviously not putting landscaping in instead of doors.
Bike rack,
I think that they showed it, at least they're showing it for the future, when
Is there any way that that can be enforced in the approval that if we need it, because I know we want to have a lot more bike access, and if that does come about, is there a way to enforce if they would install that?
Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you approve it with the condition that a bike rack shall be installed if there's ever a bike path extended there or something along those lines.
That would be
sections, they just.
probably the best way to enforce it. I don't know about, how do you measure need?
Yeah.
Right, right.
If an employee bikes to work, is there already a bike rack at Harder?
So there's only one spot. So there's only one spot. So I guess it's that.
So currently, because of where Harder is positioned, and for safety reasons, we do not have employees or students that bike to the Harder campus. The school district is definitely amicable and open. If there is a safe bike path that it's ever installed, we would be happy to put it at the campus. And also at the transportation center. I think the other concern that we have right now is that our bus drivers typically are arriving to work when it's dark out, and they are typically leaving when it's dark out. And so right now, there's just not a safe path of travel to that location. But we have the site plan for where a future bike rack could go. So we're happy to put one there if there is a bike path ever sent to that area.
We just do it contingent on future bike.
Danny, can I ask you a question? The yellow space there, on the plan, it looks like there's 2 spots, like which,
Am I looking at this the wrong way?
like, there's a lot of spaces, like, where, is there plants and stuff, or
Like, are we not requiring it along this side or this, like, there's plenty of space here for a foundation.
We're only required, well, we're going off of what they're proposing, but there is room if they wanted to. Or if
There's
you
only
wanted
one,
to require them.
there's only one yellow spot, you just say one yellow spot, just this one spot right there.
Is that, yeah, if I'm reading.
Yes.
So that's the only spot that they're required to do, is it's that one?
Yeah. Because it's required on the front of the building, so they're kind
Just the
of
front and back.
rotating.
This is a south elevation.
So that is going to be.
Oh, that's the back.
Yeah, that'll be the.
So it's
that'll be
probably,
facing towards. Wheeler.
Alright.
So could you kind of recap what you were talking about there?
So they were discussing if there was room to make them do more foundation plantings, on some of the other elevations based on the.
it looks like a green.
Based on the layout of the building, it looks like there's some spaces where there could potentially be more foundation plantings.
And then, sorry, was the outcome, there's no for foundation planting?
There potentially could be more foundation plantings if you guys want to require. Our code requires it for the front of the building. They were proposing the green areas in place of just the front of the building.
Okay, so there will be some planting.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So if this is at code now, what was the deviant?
The deviation was because of the front of the building, you can't put the foundation plantings. They're having to relocate it a little bit.
Choice.
Gotcha, okay.
Did you?
The south driveway entrance to exceed 35 feet in width is the other deviation.
Can we get input from Public Works on that? Do you have any objection to that 35 feet?
And just for the record, Danny, could you get on the mic that there's no objection to it? from
There's no
staff?
objection from Public Works on that.
Makes sense. The wider buses.
Is anyone opposed?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I have a question reference that for the police. Is there gonna be any issues? I saw that the plan commission was worried about some additional policing with the buses coming in and out with the width of the lane of traffic. Can we get that answered?
Yeah, I will elaborate on their discussion. Their discussion was based on, we already have police out there directing traffic in the mornings. They had concerns that we would need additional officers out there, so I'll let Chief speak on that.
Thank you.
So that's a little difficult right now to make a determination, but I think with the, having the width of the entrance and exit expanded, it will make the buses turn in the correct lane versus having to come out into oncoming traffic. So I think it's a win for us as a police agency and not having accidents out there. It's for the vehicles so that are gonna be going southbound. That's gonna be basing, turning into lanes of traffic. Vehicles also heading southbound would be the only concern, but I like the approach that it's wider.
All right, thank you.
And I believe that's all the deviations that they're requesting. Yes.
Going back to the thing on the foundation landscaping, it says petitioner is requesting a deviation to not require foundation landscaping. Can that be changed to say limiting the foundation landscaping? Because they've obviously put this together, they're not gonna kick out the community area. It's just that we're going to limit that, foundation plantings, right?
Yes, we can change the language on that deviation request.
And then no other items. All right, up next, there will be a discussion of the fire code amendment, and Danny Marion will present this item.
So, in the process of reviewing plans for a town home, it's actually one of the model homes for Lennar that is coming. The fire chief and our building inspector found an item they feel needs to be amended with the recently adopted fire code. And then the amendment will require that when a separate control room does not exist for the fire alarm control panel, the panel shall not be permitted to be located within a private garage or room controlled by unauthorized personnel. It requires that if the panel is to be installed outside a building, a weatherproof box is required. And the proposed amendment also includes language on who has final say of the location of these panels and that they must be their own separate panel. The full amendment is attached in Exhibit A. The Fire Protection District has already adopted this language.
Is there any discussion?
Was the code just silent to this?
Yeah, I believe it was just silent to it, and they realized with the town, especially the townhomes with Lennar, because of the requirements of them having to follow the 13D for fire code, there are sprinklers in them, and so due to that, they need this control panel, but they don't want the control panel in somebody's garage and they want to have control of where it's going to be.
So will it be just a separate unit behind?
Yeah, it'll probably be on like the end of one of the, like,
Okay.
one of the ends of the buildings in its own little box.
Did Lennar have any input on this?
I don't know if they've talked to Lennar about it, or they might have, because I think Chris did reach out to them and say, hey, we're reviewing it, and this is a comment that we're going to have based on moving forward, and we're taking it to the board for approval, so.
I would comment on that, that it makes no sense to have a fire alarm panel in a specific individual residential unit, because then it is not available for service, for any, other problems that the panel has. It should be under the care, custody, and control of whoever's managing that property, because if it's, a row of townhouses or whatever that's required, they've got to at least have a homeowners association that's running that portion of the property, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So if that's the case, then it should be only available to like the fire department and service staff. So typically in those kind of situations, they have some sort of closet or vestibule that they would construct to house this unit.
Just wanted to note that this will go into effect, it'll be up for approval at the next meeting. If it's approved, it'll go into effect on May 1 with the recent building code update that the village board did.
Any other discussion? All right, up next, we have a timekeeping system with Andrews Technology. Karen Johns will present this item.
Good evening. The staff is requesting a more robust timekeeping system to be used in the future for, that would be installed fiscal year 27. Currently, our time clock system is a simple how many hours a day did each employee work, which with some of the more complexities of payroll regulations in the past several years, including no tax on overtime, we really need more robust exactly when the employees are working, because those hours worked don't necessarily, when there's minimums, it's difficult to tell what the actual hours worked were for FSLA purposes. This would be split between the water and sewer funds. Finance staff was available to negotiate a 10% discount off the employee and supervisor annual rates throughout the contract, and annual maintenance fee waived in year 1 if the contract is signed before the end of April.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I'm assuming that it was comparison shopped and this was the.
This company is the only certified vendor that interfaces with our financial software. So there were not other comparisons looked upon.
So I'm familiar with UKG. Currently, I'm not a fan of it. So I would like to, is the issue is you're saying it's the only one that's comparable or that works with the BSNA?
Yes.
Do we currently, we have nothing correct now, we're just by hand?
It's in our BSNA software, but it's 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day. It doesn't tell me any punch in, punch out data.
All right. So if we were to look for an additional timekeeping and it wasn't connected to the BSNA, it would be similar to what we're doing now, but it just would be.
There's possibilities that it would be able to have the same complexity as UKG. And however, the interface into our payroll system, BSNA would not support.
So the manually put it in there? You have to manually input it then, you're saying?
Yes.
Have you reached out to any of the BSNA software that currently have UKG to see if there's any issues with it or any problems with them with the other jurisdictions?
It was implemented the month before I started in Montgomery. And I know there were some hiccups and struggles at the beginning, but they are now satisfied.
I would like to see you reach out to at least 3 or 4 other municipalities to see if they have it and if they're having issues with it as well.
Okay.
What don't you like about it?
I'm going to reserve my comments. I think that you can reach out to the other municipalities and locate, or we can discuss it another time, just do that. That's just what I'm going to say, so thank you.
Does anyone else?
Just put it on for general business next meeting, so
Yeah.
we can hear what Karen has to say and we can vote on it or vote against it.
I think it's, do our due diligence to ask, as Trustee Bonnie suggested, and to find out if there are any other.
Absolutely.
All right. Up next, we have general fund budget follow-up items. Karen Johns will present this item.
Based on some of the feedback from the last meeting, the general fund interest income has been increased by $5,000 to offset an increase in the boards and commission marketing for $5,000 in expense, so that will be a net zero additions for those two. There was a couple questions about fees. In the past, there's been a utility fee review committee. I'm suggesting that this year we establish a committee to review all the village's fees as an ad hoc committee to bring back some of those planning and zoning fees as well as water rate fees.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
The ad hoc committee, would you include Pressbury residents? Because the utility rate committee.
The utility rate committee, and I apologize, I was just reviewing that in the 20 minutes before this meeting. So yes, that committee does have to be with members of Pressbury involved. That can be done, hopefully appointees at the next village meeting. And then if that review committee comes forward with a recommendation through the month of May, it can be effective May 1st before we do our billing.
I think, do you have another question? I was gonna say I want the utility rate committee that we do at Pressbury, the water, to be separate of the whole village fee committee.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not looking for that same committee to decide to look at our other fees.
Right.
Okay.
There.
Just one second, is the board though in favor of a fee committee to look at the fees from planning and zoning that would be either a similar offshoot of the utility rate committee that we do for the water bills, or is that something that you'd like staff to just further research and bring back directly to the village board for discussion?
I'm happy with staff to research it. bring it back.
Me too. I was gonna say, staff research for the rates.
For the building and zoning. Yeah, I know that it can get complicated, and I know we redid our building permits. So I don't know, everybody has a different way of setting it up. And I'm not sure the ad hoc committee, you have to explain everything. I don't know, it can get complicated as long as in the industry, you go in, you try to look, and this community does it this way, this community does it this way, this one does it this way, so. I'm not sure.
So are you saying you're in favor of it just because?
Yeah, I tend to lean that way because I know they're more attuned to all the nuances. You know what's not in this village's website that you know is in there. You know, they just don't list it here. You know to ask, well, what is this? You know, it's not added in there.
We did a permit fee comparison for the 2 fee items that were discussed last time with the, the original permit fee. And we wanted to table that at this time until we could do a more comprehensive fee study on that. So that one we are no longer recommending for to start May 1 of fiscal year 27. We are still recommending the increase of CPI for the max permit fee from $17,850 to $18,360. In the survey that we did, that would still be well within the range of the other comparable communities.
So I have a question on that. I don't know if you have our permit fee that we had passed last year, how it's broken up, where it has the 17,000 max. We have on that, like if you just go to our website and see what the permit fees are, what I was looking at. I'm asking if the CPI increase would be for all of the fees, because that grand total includes the impact fee, for the fire district and all that. Do those all increase?
No, just the max fee. So at some point it caps off, and just that cap of the 17,850 currently would increase to 18,360, not the individual ones that go into that.
That would include all the reviews that are needed, that are done by our staff, right?
Those are part of what makes up the total.
As opposed to the other comparisons where they said, well, if it's $100 for this and $1,000 for that, and so much percent, based on, looking at these various fees, it's very fuzzy as to what some of these groups would actually charge you, but by the time the dust settles.
One of the things that Director Marion and I discussed was talking with our cohorts at other organizations and this sample house, price it out for us. So we could really see that true rate on what it would cost in the different communities, understanding that each community approaches fees very differently.
Do you know the average we're charging right now? It says max is 17, but do you know what average it is? Any idea?
Director Marion, do you know that?
I know most communities are the 31 cents a square foot. That's pretty common for Fox Valley. And then, based on annexation agreements or agreements with other taxing bodies, that's where a lot of the difference comes.
Yeah, I would say right now we have so many different annexation agreements and stuff existing that a lot of our permits are tied to those annexation fees that are lower than that 17,850. But I think a lot of them are like Settlers Ridge 5 and 6. They don't have anything, so a lot of theirs are getting up to that 17,850 mark.
But a lot of the new annexations the new developments are locked in at a lower rate.
Yes,
and
like
those are
Lennar, I believe, has a lower one once they get started.
fixed. Crown, significant.
Yeah,
It's about
so.
$5,000 less than this.
Yeah.
So this will only be charged, the 18,350 is to, people in Hannaford, Black Walnut, Windstone.
Why
And that's about it.
Hannaford? Is this- no.
And all of Settlers 5 and 6.
So, why is that?
Yeah, why is that?
Because the Crown and Lennar were able to negotiate it with their annexation agreement.
Okay.
So, and just a quick clarifications, Lennar is a development agreement. They were already annexed, so they have a development agreement that set their fees. Crown's was through an annexation agreement, and the way that our building permit fees work for the totality of the home, Sean's right, it is the 31 cents per square feet. That's for the building permit itself. That's the one that changes.
So Settlers Ridge is no agreement with price on that?
The annexation agreement for Settlers Ridge was signed in, I believe, like 2004, so it has expired. So they don't have an agreement in place, so they use what is default in our code. When the annexation agreements expire, everything defaults back to village code, so they would follow that. We do have set numbers for our building permit fee as far as like certificate of occupancy, the water meter, impact fees for both for road, for schools, for library. That's all lined out as a hard set number. And then the building permit fee is 31 cents per square foot, so that depends on the size of the house. The minimum total is 15,333. We right now have the maximum is the 17,850. If that were to be increased by CPI on a larger home, it could potentially bump up to the new higher number. If you leave it at 17,850, it just would cap what the building permit can rise to.
But the way I understand it is the request from staff is, if anything goes up, the fee goes up. If the water meter goes up, the cost of the water meter be passed on to the new.
Right now, we're just talking about that max fee. We're not talking about any of the individual.
Where the other ones are fixed through the annexation agreement, and it can't be raised. So it really is a very little consequence, because we might be talking I guess Settlers Ridge has got a few. The others, there's not many buildings going on.
Just a quick clarification, there is still an agreement with Hannaford Farms.
I had a question on, did you get anywhere on the number of building permits that are being proposed? Because I see in the capital project fund, we're talking 50 building permits, and in the general fund, we're looking at 195, and that's a significant difference.
In the general fund, we have those offsetting expenses, so the expenses would go down if the revenues went down. In the other funds, there's, if the revenues go down, we don't have a direct offsetting expense that goes down with it. For example, in the capital projects for the public works roof, if that was delayed this year because there wasn't enough permit revenue coming in to displace it. So I didn't feel comfortable where there wasn't a direct expense going down in those other funds to budget at that higher amount.
I think for budgeting purposes, it's as important on the expense side as it is the revenue side that we narrow that down. I saw the memo that was sent out, and I think that was asking Lennar in 2024 or 2025 before they really got under construction. So I think the request needs to go out again to these builders, the developers, to see what a reasonable amount is. I still don't think 100 or 205 is a reasonable amount. I think that has a big implication on our budget, both revenue and expenses.
Sounds like we'll have Danny reach out to the builders and get a revised number for the budget that'll be up for approval, requesting approval at the next meeting. We'll get some revised numbers there and include a slightly, we toned down a little bit the number that came in from the builders to include that, and we'll bring back that number and report that ahead of approval under general business of the budget.
Okay.
And I have a question on our budget that we talked about, there's $75,000 from the transfer to the police pension fund. Is there a particular reason that we did that, and does that have any impact on our tax levy going forward?
That has not been presented to the board yet. That will come to the board before the audit is complete. My reasoning for wanting to share some of it with the police pension fund is as the police pension fund becomes more fully funded, that's looked on very favorable by bond traders. So if we can contribute to put in slightly more than the recommended amount, that brings down their levy, which opens it up for the general fund in the future, and helps us with bond rating the more fully funded they are.
And that is, it's a recommendation on the surplus from this year on how that would be divvied up, that Karen is recommending that we devote some of that to the police pension fund. That, of course, when we know a true number after the audit, we will come back with a recommendation to the board on how you'd like to divvy up the surplus.
And just to clarify, that's in projections for fiscal year 2026. It's not in the budget for 2027.
Okay, thank you.
Is there other discussion? All right, hearing none, we will move on to budget workshop, capital and other funds, and Karen will present this item.
I've provided for you several worksheets on all the other funds other than the general fund tonight, and am happy to share them with you. Right now, for fiscal year 2026, revenues are projected to be $195,000 higher than budget in the capital projects fund, and expenditures are projected to be below budget by approximately $1.2 million. This is due to some of the timing on the construction of the police station was the largest contributing factor in that. For fiscal year 2027, revenues are expected to decrease by roughly $183,000 due to the transfer from the general fund being decreased. There is a decrease of roughly $75,000 in capital improvement funds compared to the 2026 budget due to 50 residential homes permits being projected in this fund for next year. Moving on to the capital fund expenses. The administration portion covers the rental lease for 160 South Municipal Drive. There's only 2 years left on this agreement, but it was renewed at a 2% increase.
Are we doing anything to look for a new village hall? Or have we approached the owner of the building maybe about purchasing that so we don't spend rent money on a lease agreement?
So we'll bring back a larger discussion item about the potential for future of Village Hall as a discussion. We've had it in the new build as in the capital project list for quite a long time. It was moved down in the most recent list as a build for Village Hall. We don't have funds in place to do that now, as we spent the majority of the capital funds on the police station. But we're happy to bring that back as a discussion.
But we still have $1.8 million, so looking at here, we still have $1.8 million in funds after we spend it on the police department. So I would say we do have money that is in the capital projects account that could go towards the purchase of a building. And then
When we acquired the building in the first place, it was purchased at a foreclosure, it looked like. How was it found through the foreclosure? Does anyone recall?
when we originally purchased it, it was, I don't remember it being for closure, but it was for sale. and the village had the funds, and we bought the 2 buildings in the parking lot, and then I think there's 3 or 4 buildable lots there, and then it was sold a few years ago. But I think that building that the administration's in is an adequate building to buy or to maybe lease out the whole property, so we could, instead of having meetings here, look at renovating it to have board meetings there. But I think if we put it on our projects list, look for a village hall, I think it's something we need to do in this fiscal year. It hasn't been talked about. And then in general capital projects revenue, seems like the interest income or investments is down quite a bit. I would say it's got to be over $50,000, but $31,000 seems low for the amount of time we're going to carry the fund balances of $3 million that we have, plus the 1.8 that's in the general, that's in reserves afterwards. So I would look at.
But the problem you have is interest rates. The interest rates are supposed to go. We're supposed to go down, but now they won't. I mean, it's up in the air.
Right, but I still think for budgeting purposes, we should be more accurate and think that we have the investment committee that can look into that. And then,
So in the police department, there are expenses mainly with kind of finishing the police facility, as well as 2 replacement vehicles and updating the Axon system.
I have a question regarding that. In vehicles for 2026, we have $163,000 budgeted. We're showing actual for 2026, $245,000. Do you know what the difference is between there?
Is the 245 with the Axon systems?
And then the other, the 2027 budget seems high at $250,000 if we're buying the 2 vehicles. So I was wondering why that's so high.
Sorry, let me pull that right.
Okay, so I guess this year's budget is appropriate based on what's projected.
Chief, you wouldn't mind coming up to discuss the vehicles that were purchased this year?
So the 259,000 is the 2 squads and the update of the Axon system.
Okay. I was going to ask Chief, why is one squad 78,000, the other is 105,000?
We're gonna have to look at that.
Okay.
That number, so we'll figure that too.
Okay. And then
I knew what it was for, we brought on a deputy chief vehicle this budget year versus the future years, so that there was a need for this one. So less equipment was needed for this year's budget. For the deputy chief, he doesn't have the lights on top and a cage and other equipment in the back. So that may be adjusted up a little bit.
Karen, if you would just look into 2026, why the actual is so much higher than the projected at some point.
Okay. Public Works, there is a request for the roof at the Public Works facility to be improved. This was in the budget for this year, but was delayed. That roof was based on permitting fees that did not come in this year. There's also 2 vehicles to be replaced next year, a 1.5 ton bucket truck and a dump truck. Community Development has the transit and bike plan budgeted for next year, which we will be requesting grant funds for.
Have we approached the park district or the township to partner in that?
We are discussing ongoing discussions with the Park District. The Park District, though, I don't think has very many miles of bike path because they would just only own the bike path that is on their properties. But we have and are discussing that with the Park District. And I don't know how many miles the township has, but we can discuss that with them as well to see if there would be a benefit or they'd be able to. Once roads are annexed into the village proper, though, we would take over any bike path that would be part of it that would be inside of our jurisdiction. And it's less common on county and township roads to have bike path. Those improvements are done a lot of times on the village roads, but we will discuss with them and at a minimum, they're gonna be partnering and providing letters of support as part of our grant application that we're submitting to CMAP.
And then, do we have any plans for the next fiscal year to update or adopt the bicycle plan? Brought it up in the past and have not passed that plan as at this level. The township and the park district had asked that we approve the plan, and then they were in favor of doing plans going forward. So I've requested a few times, I'd like to see that on our project list for 2027.
You're saying,
I would too. I think before we get that bike plan done with the pedestrian vision and everything, we're gonna get a lot of like.
The intent with the one that was, I believe it was 2010. If you don't mind, Danny, the last one that was developed and the village has changed significantly with annexations and properties that have been brought in. So that's why we're attempting to get the grant from CMAP to update the bike plan and then hopefully adopt a new one.
We've internally discussed adopting the 2010 plan formally as a village, and we felt internally that it would, at a staff level, we felt it'd be better to just try and get this grant and redo the bike plan and update it because the village has changed so much since then.
But as I've expressed before, the park district and the township are looking for us to update, to adopt that plan. And once we do, they've committed, verbally at least, that they will work with us in coming forward with the bicycle plan. And I'm sorry we didn't pass it sooner, but all we need to do is pass the plan that was presented in 2010, and we're gonna get cooperation from the 2 other entities, and they'll help us with this bike plan going forward. And I've requested it a couple of times, and I don't know what the reluctance is, just to at least adopt what's out there, and then we can move forward. But to get the participation from the other taxing bodies, all they're doing is asking that we adopt that plan.
why don't we contact I'll just email the township and the park district and find out if they need us to adopt the 2010 plan to cooperatively work on a 2026 plan. Would they be a part of the CMAP grant application? Would it be a joint application?
I don't believe we're gonna talk to them about it. We're definitely gonna get letter of supports from them, but I don't know that they want to be a joint applicant as they would have to help match the funds.
And any path they have is not part of our jurisdiction, so it would grow the plan considerably if it encompassed all of the township roads. And again, park districts typically don't own a lot of miles of bike path because it's just the bike path that goes through the parks. Forest preserves oftentimes have quite a bit of bike paths in the way that they're built up and the way that they're designed. And oftentimes the ones that go through parks are connecting different parts of municipal bike paths. So it wouldn't be terribly difficult to encompass the existing park district bike paths that are already there. But again, we are in communication with the park district and we'll reach out to the township as well.
I don't think you're looking at the village as a whole. We have Pressbury, that's a big part of the township, and the village surrounds it. And any partnership that we can do with the township is gonna benefit the village. So I think we're being small-minded.
Include you. And just ask if they, to confirm that they need us to adopt the 2010.
Okay, I've talked to various people, Scott Nadeau, I've talked to Tom Rowe, and I've talked to John Clayton, and they've all told me that's what they're waiting for.
Okay.
So does it hurt anything if we adapt to 2010? Does it cost us anything?
It would not cost anything. I don't know how the CMAP would look at it for grant applications if we adopt a plan in 2025 and are looking for funding to do a new plan.
We can
That would
reach
be
out
my
to
only
CMAP
concern.
staff about that to see
Yeah,
if it would
'cause
affect
it's
our grant application.
2010 and 2026 is a significant difference. Yeah, it's basically we have nothing, or do we adopt something that's old for right now and will we apply for something else? Now, if it's gonna hinder our chances of the grant.
CMAP staff should be able to tell us their opinion on that.
Get that information and we can reach out with, our district and township.
The Weston Industrial Tax Increment Financing District was closed in fiscal year 2025, or sorry, 2026. And there was a surplus declared back to the other taxing districts. There is still a balance in this fund of approximately $760,000 budgeted for commercial development.
What's considered a US 30 commercial development?
So the allotment there was any projects along Route 30 that were in the TIF that could be used towards commercial development. That's what was in the project as of last year or this year. One of the considerations was potentially rehabilitating the motel site or other projects that would be along Route 30. That was the recommendation in the past. If the board would rather, the options include surplusing the funds and completely closing out the TIF, or leaving the funds there that were allocated for potential projects along that corridor.
If we return the funds to the taxing bodies, how much would the village receive?
Roughly like 6 or 7%. They split it out in accordance with, it's similar to the tax bill. TIF 1 does straddle multiple fire districts, and it's part of Big Rock and part of Sugar Grove as well, so it's not a straight line for a single tax bill for TIF 1 disbursements, but it would, we are roughly, on most tax bills, we are between 6 and 8%, so that's about the amount we would get.
So it makes sense to keep it then.
And then how long can we keep it until?
That becomes a legal question at some point.
Yeah.
One of the expenses that was considered is extending Bastion here between the library district and the fire district, so that road then could be used by both the library and the fire district for their parking lots, and I don't know if that's an allowable expense.
It doesn't sound like a commercial project, does it?
It benefits the taxing bodies that are in there, but it's just one of those to consider. We don't have to.
I think we went to quite a bit of effort to save those funds and not spend it on the motel, and so I don't think, I think we should either refund it to the other taxing bodies, or if there was something commercial that came up, but I don't think it would meet the. Okay.
Okay.
The airport TIF district, number 2, has expenses budgeted for next year, including trainings, legal services, audit services, as part of a transfer to the general fund.
Which is TIF 2 again?
The airport district.
Okay.
So at the end of fiscal year 2027, we're anticipating to have a fund balance of approximately $359,000. Also in TIF district number 3, the 8847 TIF districts, we are building up funds in that district. For fiscal year 27, the expenditures are budgeted for legal professional services and transfer for salaries. we're estimated to end fiscal year 27 with a deficit fund balance of $28,000.
I have a question about TIF 3. Some of the expenses, like the level spreader, are outside of the TIF district. Are those reimbursable?
Outside of the
It's across the street before it's
it's not, it's related in some way. I mean, it's basically just
related,
doing.
but outside of the district.
I have to look at the specifics of it. Let's see. They're just there grading outside of the, or what are they doing?
It's equipment used for like spreading water.
We haven't received any requests for
Yeah, it hasn't
reimbursement.
been received yet, but it's a question.
Just to clarify, we don't have an official request.
But something like that, that was actually part of the actual drainage of the property would generally be considered TIF eligible.
I don't know the specifics. I don't know the.
I know, you
Yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
exactly, I get it,
Right.
but usually if it's connected to something happening on site, which this has to do with water.
Right. I mean,
Going under the road just to the south of the site, it's usually connected in TIF
if it's connected to the
eligible.
property in some way,
Yes.
I don't know if water is spread. I mean,
It's directly from the property.
So
okay.
in the redevelopment agreement, there is a review process by a TIF expert to determine eligibility.
Right.
So that will be, when it does come in, it will go through a review process before it's paid. But if Brian needs to research that and get an answer, that would be great too.
Karen, what's the College Corner Business District?
Behind Jewel.
That's like Burnt Barrel.
Wait.
No.
No, sorry, that's the one, it encompasses Burnt Barrel. It's in that area, and the only expense in that currently is the sales tax rebate to Burnt Barrel.
So we implemented a business district.
It's a weird name as well.
The capital infrastructure funds, I'm happy to report that fiscal year 26 revenues came in approximately 100,000 over budget due to receiving higher than anticipated home rule sales tax. And fiscal year 2027 revenues, we are projecting, there's no request to change the road maintenance fee at this time, which is $6.48 per month.
I was going to propose that we look at decreasing that since we have about $1 million savings in these expenses. The history behind this road maintenance fee is that we received, we went out for bid for our waste hauling, and it came in about $7 cheaper than what we were paying per month per resident, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. And so instead of passing that savings on at the time, because we were in a recession and had limited revenue, we added this road maintenance fee to help augment our annual road maintenance. And now that, we have good non-home rule sales tax, and we've gotten a lot of grants thanks to staff, I'd like to see us reduce this fee each month, and maybe it's just 10% or 50 cents, maybe I'd propose 50 cents. But if you look at your water bill and look at the base fees that the village charges, it's over $50 a month. So a little help each year could go a long way. And so I would like to see us consider reducing this fee some, since our revenue is exceeding the expenses.
And I feel the opposite, because I feel we need every penny we can get into the road fund for maintenance of the roads, and we're not fully funded based on the system that we currently have in place that estimates the amount of money that we should be spending in.
I think we are, Tony. If you look in the long run, we do have a surplus. But I didn't see the attachment. It says, see attachment for details of the 2027 road infrastructure projects. I don't know if I missed it or if it wasn't a part of it. But, you know, it's, we can always raise the fee if if we feel that revenue isn't gonna meet our expenses, we always, it's a discretionary fee, we could always raise it back up.
Right, at the current time, I emailed several people today about one specific road, Merrill, that's now at risk for flooding. It's unfortunate that we have to have this road maintenance fee, but at the current time, we have a problem that is not addressed, and so I think we're gonna have to move it to a future meeting.
And I would say that's a TIF eligible expense if the flooding is being caused by development along the road, so.
We'll have to probably move both issues to.
That's fine.
So we'll happily send out the long-term
I
maintenance plan as well.
apologize, that was missing from the packet.
And then just also to mention, the road fund from year to year, the expenditures can sometimes greatly change depending upon which roads we're doing. We don't always spend the same amount of money if we have a larger project that we're saving up for in a couple of years. And you'll see it in the project fund. I'm sorry, that's not included, but you'll show that it can vary in upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars from year to year on the expenditures, and we do try to plan that out farther into the future. And if that fee is changed, it will affect our ability of when we do roads, and we're happy to have a discussion about that fee and the effect that it would potentially have on future capital plan.
Absolutely.
But your comments here, the revenues are budgeted higher than projected actuals by nearly $2 million to increasing grants. And was there any offsetting expenses? I mean,
Yes.
How
That's-
much?
Those grant revenues were only a portion of the project. So I believe several of them were the STP funds that were discussed earlier today. We have to budget for the full amount of the revenue because that's the asset we have to carry on our books.
Yeah, and I would expect us to do the same for expenditures. But
Some of those is
anyways,
catching up with old projects.
Sometimes we get awarded STP funds because we've done phase one engineering for projects we have planned in a future year. And in order to capture the 75% federal or state funding that we get, we will oftentimes move those up, and it would affect the expenditure and the revenue side of a project, because we want to make sure we always capture the grant funds when due.
Yeah, I think the attachment will shed some light.
Absolutely. I do have a listing of the projects if you want me to go over them real quickly.
No, I think we want a copy of it.
Okay, absolutely.
Karen, can I ask you a question? Page 167, the last line, IMRF for waterworks. 2025 was 104,000, 2026 is now 27,000. Where is that expense?
I'm sorry, could you tell me the?
So page 167, the last line.
I don't have page numbers.
So
on my
it's
report.
account number 50506210.
Oh, we're at using the waters.
And they have wages.
I would want to research to be absolutely sure, Trustee Roscoe, but I believe that was a IMRF pension expense that we were required to true up with IMRF because of an audit done on their side. We normally pay a percentage of employee salaries to IMRF, but from time to time when they do analysis, we have to make a true up payment to them. Is that not what that was?
So where's IMRF payments for those employees?
That is an additional tracking that we have to do as part of the audit to recognize their OPEB liability as part of the audit. It's not an expense that we directly pay them, but it's something we have to track on the books for the liability.
But when you make a payment for those employees, where do you?
That is in IMRF contributions, 5050-6206.
Okay, I got you, okay, that makes more sense. Thank you. So that was probably just a shortfall or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On special service area number 10, it seems like we're carrying quite a balance. Do we have expenditures in that?
We briefly discussed this before the meeting, and we did include the proposed maintenance agreement, or the approved maintenance agreement with D3, but it appears that TerraCare, which is doing the parkways, has not been budgeted to that fund in the past, and should possibly be moved into that area.
So it'll go down, that budget
Mhm.
decrease.
SSA 10, is that Mallard?
No, that's the one behind you.
Along, or capital.
There is no budget in the debt service fund for next year. The only debt that we currently have is the 2027 issue, or the 2017 issues, which are being paid out of the water fund. For the water and sewer fund for next year, I am recommending a 1% increase in the utility rates, which will have to go before that utility rate committee that we will form ASAP. And we are recommending a municipal water and sewer rate represented as 10% of the residential rate. This is strictly for the village's water expenses, repaying the water fund.
Can you explain that? I cannot follow that.
To make sure we have accurate reporting of our water usage and water loss, more importantly, the village is billed water, and currently the village is being billed water at the residential rate and paid. So it's paid out of the water sewer fund and paid to the water and sewer fund. So we're looking at greatly reducing the rate that we pay ourselves.
And the reason to raise the water and sewer fees?
That was the typical trajectory of the previous utility rate committee.
And that,
For future capital, also our, one of our largest expenses in that fund is staffing, which went up 3% for next year.
what's a 1% change in rates generate as far as income? I thought it was like $50,000 or $60,000, and we're showing a surplus of a couple hundred thousands.
I'm sorry, I would need to go back and calculate that for you.
I guess maybe we can bring this one back. We just want to make sure that it's absolutely needed, just because there is that surplus of 290.
Yes,
I'd
this
be
would
opposed.
have to come back before the, with the recommendation of the water committee, or the utility rate committee.
So we're recommending a budget of 1%. That's what it's done the past 3 years, and then the water rate committee will meet and provide their recommendation to the village board as well.
I think last year it was recommended that we did not raise the rates at all.
We did raise 1% last year.
We did.
So is this 1% part of the last recommendation?
It carried forward from the last recommendation since the last 3 years.
Right.
For 1%, I estimated a 1% for this year too as a tolerable expense.
Okay, so it would only come forward if the water rate utility committee recommended that?
Yes.
Okay.
We do need something in the budget, the placeholder, and then we'll have the water rate committee meet and then come back to the board with an official recommendation.
For salaries, there was a 3% COLA and step adjustment for current employees. Also budgeted at the 6-month mark, there's an addition of a full-time maintenance worker and the change of a fiscal assistant from a part-time position to a full-time position. This would be determinant on the amount of new homes being built and the workload. These would come back to the board before advertising for any of these positions. There was an inclusion of the timekeeping system and IT budgeted, the 2017 refunding bonds, which will expire in fiscal year 29. In 5059, there is an expense of an automotive hoist split with the general fund, and there was increase in electricity based on the rising utility costs and projections for the solar fields. We will be doing everything we can to do pumping on off-peak hours and utilizing batteries during peak hours. Any other questions on the water fund? Water and sewer capital fund. Sorry, this also references the project list. I will make sure that is emailed out tomorrow, and I sincerely apologize for not having that in the packet. The refuse fund, we are proposing a 3% increase, which is what the monthly expense will be increased with Lakeshore Recycling. So that will just be passing that fee through. The police pension fund has increases in expenses due to the additional revenues and expenses due to the 2 new full-time officers contributing throughout the year.
Back on the refuse, is a 3% increase for LRS still less expensive than using group? Do you know?
I don't know, but this is in our current LRS contract. So I'm not sure how long the LRS contract is in place. I can send that out if you would like.
Do you happen to know?
I do not. We have not shopped it, but I think the unique thing about the original contract that we negotiated included the village-wide street sweeping, 7 times a year. So I don't think group offers that service. It's kind of rare. So, but I think I'd have to pull the contract, but I think we still have like 1 or 2 more years before we can renew it, and then we kind of go out.
I know I looked at it and it was still active. For the next fiscal year, I don't remember longer than that.
Thank you.
And I think they also offer a bunch of stuff the group doesn't, like the electronics recycling and stuff. A lot of communities have to pay for that. We get that for free.
Okay.
You just gotta schedule it,
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
That is the end of my presentation for the other funds. Are there any other questions that I can help answer?
Thank you very much. Up next, we have staff report, Scott Keppel, administration.
Yep, my report's in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Karen, did you have any additional?
Good, asking Scott on the Hankus Road Bridge, are coming pretty well with the LOI.
I had emailed them on Thursday. I sent over to IDOT and to the township the IDOT letter with, it was not signed, but I added our comments that we had discussed, and then I added 14 pages of attachments. One was the email from IDOT, one was the terms that the township had said they would agree to. Our attorney typed them up. Their attorney did not yet review them, and then the other attachment was, there was one other attachment. There was a total of 14 pages.
It was a letter drafted to IDOT and the township spelling out the terms that IDOT agreed to via email, and then also the fact that the township and the township road district would agree to an IGA for maintenance on the bridge in coordination with the village up until the bridge is fully rehabilitated, and then also that they would continue the snow plowing agreement that is currently in place.
Yes, so township attorney is currently reviewing, and then they will ask for any changes, I'm assuming, sometime this week, and then after that, we can get signatures and sign send the entire thing again to IDOT. IDOT, there have been no objections yet, so.
And any,
In the last few days.
any IGA with the township, of course, would come before the village board for approval. The LOI itself, as mentioned before, doesn't require village board approval, but there will be a subsequent agreement with the state of Illinois that will come that will require village board approval, so that will come before this body.
Yeah, the LOI, you'll have to get the document back from IDOT to help prepare.
Yeah. Send as much back.
Any other questions?
Danny? Chief Rollins, police.
I did not provide a staff report this time. I was out on vacation, and I'll have a larger one for you next week.
Thank you. Brad, Public Works.
As you may or may not recall, last year we received money for STP for Merrill Road resurfacing, and it was tabled and not awarded by IDOT because they were illegal with builders paving. We got an email yesterday that's been resolved, so we should have Merrill Road paved this year, so.
So that leads me to a question. I had emailed earlier today about concerns about Merrill Road, because currently it's at risk for flooding. There was a picture the other day, the water from Area 1 was almost up to the road. So if we resurface.
Yeah, there is not, so it's gonna be basically from Hannaford Farms.
Okay, so not
Because
same
the
as-
section that, when we re-annexed Crown, or de-annexed them, the township took that road back over from Hannaford to 47, and they resurfaced it. So that road is gonna get resurfaced by Crown after the project's complete.
Okay.
But we're going from Hannaford all the way to Bliss.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Just to clarify, Brad, you said that we went, builders is who would be, they were second in the bill, in the bid, is that right? So they would be awarded it, so who would be
no,
awarded?
Builders was low bidder.
Okay.
Yeah, and D was second, but we were able to, IDOT said that if we reached out to builders and they would honor the price from last year, they would issue the stuff and keep the project going. So we fortunately proved all this at board level last year, so there's really nothing for you guys to do, it's just paperwork that I got now for me. So,
Thank you very much.
just kind of exciting.
Yeah, they were cleared from IDOT to proceed.
And that would be summer project this summer.
Yeah, they wouldn't commit to a schedule yet, just because we're pretty busy, but they would honor the price.
Oh, great.
So I'll keep you guys updated.
Well, I mean, basically they're a year behind, right?
Yeah.
Because they were held up a year under IDOT review, so they've had a bunch of awarded contracts like ours that have been sitting waiting to be done, so.
But they have Wheeler, Dugan, and then Merrill.
I noticed the flashing sign for the upcoming construction for
Next Monday.
modification there on Park 147, very excited.
Yep.
Long time coming.
Trustee London.
I have nothing to report.
Trustee London.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Special.
No report.
Trustee Michaels.
No report.
Trustee Rosbach.
No report.
Trustee Bowman.
No report.
I just have a quick report. Keeneland is having a strategic partner meeting. There are 3 or 4 dates. Is that strategic?
I think they're working on a new strategic plan, and they've asked to have partners be part of it, I believe.
If any trustees are interested in going, I can send the dates. I will try to all of them. The Corn Boil is looking for volunteers. Kiwanis is looking for volunteers for a car show at Wabanzi, and our beautification and gardening committee on Monday is doing the mulching for Veterans Park if anyone wants to come out. And Brad, I saw on your report a large oak tree that fell. The one we have, that we're going to make the benches or chair out of for Veterans Park, it turned out to be some sort of red oak that isn't as good for that. So if you see any more trees, we're looking for another tree. Thank you. And that is it. No executive session this evening, and if we could have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a first from trustee Michaels and a second from trustee London. If we could have roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Roscoff?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.